So, Megan, welcome. We're going to be talking about the path to brand prominence for St. Pierre. But to everybody in the room who doesn't know what St. Pierre is, hasn't had the luxury of eating some of the St. Pierre products, can you tell us who St. Pierre is and its position with Grupo Bimbo?
Yeah, so good morning, everybody. So St. Pierre is a premium French-inspired bakery brand. And it's a challenger brand. It's been in accelerated growth for the last 5 years, and we currently trade in both the UK and the USA, and I'll come back to that in a second. 2 years ago, the St. Pierre brand was acquired by Grupo Bimbo. Now, in the UK, we don't know Grupo Bimbo very well, but they are the world's largest bakery. They are a giant in that category, and actually in the top 10 of food businesses globally. So they are absolutely enormous, and then acquired our very little brand, St. Pierre. As I said, we trade in a couple of countries today, but the vision that Grupo Bimbo set really for us when they acquired us was they saw the potential in this beautiful brand to take the brand globally and essentially achieve $1 billion net sales by 2032. So we have quite an aggressive journey ahead of us as well.
Where is that in terms of standing at the moment, if you're able to share details? How aggressive a strategy is that?
Yeah, so sales today are worth 180 million in both territories. So, you know, and that's pounds, so you can imagine there's still quite some way to go. But essentially, we'll come on to talk about sort of, I guess, the global footprint and the ambition. But Grupo Bimbo do operate in 34 different countries. So actually, if you combine the two, you can actually see how that becomes a fairly plausible ambition, but certainly challenging and exciting in its own right as well.
So ambitious plans, it's exciting times, and something that caught our eye when we were planning this conference a good few months ago now was the new campaign that's out. And that's a lot of what we're here to talk about today. So I'm going to run over here because I realise I've left the clicker. And this is exactly what I need to show something on the slides coming up in just a second. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the campaign first? Why now, and why is it important?
Yeah, so I think we have historically been a brand that is very disruptive. It's very distinctive, premium. Hopefully that will come through in some of the materials you're going to see. But actually, we have different stages of market maturity, even in the countries that we currently operate within. And actually, we've grown so aggressively through huge distribution gains up till now. But actually, if you take a market like the UK, we're nearly saturated on distribution. So the model has to change. We've been brilliant at physical availability, cut through from shelf, driving awareness from shelf. But actually, we need to take that huge next step forward, which is what we set out to do, to now start to drive that all-important mental availability and really start to drive that emotional connection with consumers and feed the top of the funnel. We've been excellent at the lower part of the funnel, and not only in store through digital PR and also opening up more trade. And particularly the UK is ripe for this. So we set on a journey to essentially drive a test and learn campaign in the UK that essentially would eventually be applicable to other global markets. So hence we were building not just a UK campaign, but actually a global creative platform that we would test first in the UK, which we did this summer.
Okay, so you've talked about the shift from physical availability to mental availability, and that's the progress you're going through. Shall we watch the ad? Shall we watch it? Yes, exactly.
In France, the brioche is sacred.
Non. Non.
Saint-Pierre, for France's sake, eat avec respect.
Could you talk us through some of the creative decision making in that? And it's nice to see Paris and Bolton in the same ad.
Yeah, that's true. So, I have to give credit here to our partners, Fold7, who really took up this brilliant challenge. But actually, to start with, we had to build this idea of a creative platform with a very long-term view in mind. So this is a brand-building idea. It really needs to have the longevity of 3 to 5 years, but it also needs to be able to travel across geographies to different markets, and therefore it needs to be culturally relevant. And also it needs to be able to work through the whole of the marketing funnel. And obviously you're seeing that the top funnel there, we'll see a little bit more of the lower funnel kind of translation a little bit later. So quite a tough brief actually. And I think one of the things that Fold did really early was really understand and bring together both the brand insight, which is this premium French brand with these amazing, authentic French products, with essentially the cultural relevance and cultural insight that, whether we like it or not, and probably a lot of us hate to admit this, but the French do it better than everybody else actually in certain areas, whether that is love, art, fashion, or food. And they turned this idea on its head. They fused together those two pieces of insight and sort of turned it on its head to say, actually, the French would actually be pretty appalled actually at what sometimes we're doing with their beloved food and their beloved brioche in this case. And actually then they start to dramatize that idea, and that is what you can see playing out there. But the idea does have huge legs through the funnel. As I said, you can start to play with it, I guess, a lot more in terms of at store as well, where we can start to feature product and really play with the whole idea sort of in a really, really fun way and engaging way as well. We also had to take care that this is culturally relevant, and we did a lot of testing in different markets, not only the US where we're currently present, but also other potential markets. And that was quite interesting. We did find that common cultural insight that people do acknowledge sometimes through gritted teeth, that the French do these things probably better than everyone. But there are some sensitivities to take care of in the way that we look at that. And of course, we were pre-testing all the time. And what we do know about that idea is it's hugely emotionally engaging. And I think, that was part of the job here, is how do we get real emotional connection with consumers as well as the functional, and actually get that all-important pick up at shelf as well.
We're seeing a lot more humor in ads recently. And I'd love to talk more about that, but I'm going to maybe not now, maybe that's one for out in the breaks afterwards and people can come grab you for it. Because actually, something that's really interesting about this is in this shift from physical availability to mental availability in this above-the-line campaign, surely there's a lot of stakeholders you need to bring along the journey. Is the job internally the big part of your role at the moment, bringing everybody along the journey?
Yeah, that's hugely important probably for anybody who's in this position, lots of you in the room today as well. I think there are so many different stakeholders when you're doing this, especially if you're about to spend big for the first time, which is what we were doing. We've never ever run above the line before. It was our first outing, in the sort of bigger scale mass media. And I guess the stakeholders therefore range from everybody from the consumer themselves. We've talked about that, sort of my own team who were also on that journey, but actually the broader Pierre leadership, and then Grupo Bimbo as well. We are a real sort of they love our brand. It's so premium, and compared to their other brands which are quite commoditized, there's a lot of profile as well. So absolutely, really, really important. I think the approach to that is always about consistent messaging. So I remember first, almost the day I sort of got to Pierre, as sort of saying, gosh, all of the KPIs are telling us we need to go big. And just repeating that message continuously was hugely important. And then also putting rigor around everything that we're doing is really also hugely important for us. I think measuring everything and being confident and able to really be not only clear about what you're achieving, but actually open as well about not only what's going well, but actually some of the things that is not going so well, and authentic in that is also really, really key.
You have to prove it. And how do you, in that process, how do you choose the channels? Because surely for a business that might not have ran ads on certain media before, how do you encourage everybody that it is the right decision that you're about to make?
Yeah, well, I guess you rely on some other great partners, a collection of great partners, and our media agency, PhD, helped us very much on that journey. They actually globally appointed by Grupo Bimbo, but was their first outing, not only with Grupo Bimbo businesses, but actually with Pierre as well. And I think what I've really valued actually about all of the partnerships with our agencies is they're taking the lens on our challenger brand and really applying their skill set and ability to kind of think about bold advertising and cut through on more limited budgets than sometimes are available. I think the thing we really prioritized at this point though was, we wanted to go big, but we need to go big with impact and be able to measure efficiently. So massive question for PhD was, do we go big once with a follow-up, or do we kind of spread ourselves? And we all wanted to make sure we were having that mass reach, and we did go big. So I think reliance on really excellent partners is hugely important, but actually them really being engaged and understanding your business. And also the lens of your brand has also been absolutely critical as well.
So this is a fairly new campaign. So what does success look like? What are you measuring? What are the KPIs you're trying to deliver against?
Yeah, and we are measuring a lot of different things. There was a lot of measurement as we were developing the creative idea, of course. A lot of quali groups, a lot of pre-testing all around the world. But then also as we started to get into actually driving the campaign, we had to set up things that were previously absent. We didn't have any brand tracking, so we needed to do a dip before we started, and then to be able to build that picture, of course, we are tracking all of the usual funnel measures that you would expect. We also have a lot of interesting programs running that Grupo Bimbo really buy into. They call one of their initiatives Learning Labs, and actually that is only really almost like a test and learn kind of idea around digital and social kind of impacts. And we've really kind of embraced that as well, also with our partners to make that work. And again, this is part of the management of stakeholders as well, is that we're really playing to the agenda that they care about too. And finally, we will also do market mix modeling in the autumn. And all of this is gearing to create this hugely important but total picture of this UK test and learn. And we will then pick that up and start to optimize, but also start to move that towards other markets. And that's what's hugely important. So I think a lot of the narrative going back to stakeholder management again, and how do we get people galvanized around doing this, is really all about very much messaging that this is a test and learn. There will be optimizations. You never get it 100% right the first time, but you will measure everything you can along the way, and being big enough and open enough, I guess, to accept that there are things that you'll have to continue to optimize. And I consider that completely normal, but obviously that's an education job in an organization that hasn't done this, and an education job, I think, with various stakeholders as well.
I'd love to talk about your measurement framework. We've got a couple of sessions coming up later in the day on that, so I won't for now. Maybe that's one for future brands in April. Plug. Tell me through your challenges and triumphs. Like, what was the main challenge? What was the main triumph?
Yeah, well, I think we start with the triumphs. I mean, we did it. Like, it was, I don't say that particularly lightly, in that, we finally got the sort of buy-in enough to this only at the end of last year. And I think that was a huge amount of work to get through in that 6 months, with a huge degree of pace, but also with a team that was also developing. So I think just so proud of the team for actually, getting us that point, and also our agency partners. So huge triumph there. Our early results are encouraging, and we can see a lot of the funnel metrics already moving, which is fantastic. We can see some optimizations too. I think the challenges were most definitely around the pace and also the timing. So, and the agency partners in the room will be definitely nodding their heads at that. It was really, really quite aggressive because there are some seasonality watch-outs for our category and also for our brand, and we knew there was a time at which after we could get this live, we wouldn't be as effective. And obviously you can hear in the mix of that all-important measurement, it was really, really important. We hit the spot right at the right time. So I think we would all say we would love to have probably optimized our timing a little bit more, the seasonality. I think there's lots to learn as well in terms of, you know, how much of the brand we're putting into some of the executions, but all in the optimization going forwards.
What would be, to wrap up, the one piece of advice you'd give to people in the room in terms of bringing people along the journey, getting people in your organization excited about the opportunities of whether that's above the line marketing or marketing more generally?
Yeah, I think for me it's always about set the vision and set it bold and be really confident about it, even if you're not feeling confident about it inside. You know, and I think that vision and hooking people into that vision, depending on what's exciting for your organization, but what was exciting for our organization is that we could actually scale this brand to a point where it might actually get, you know, we might actually run an above the line campaign. And that was so exciting for the organization as a whole. But I think then we had to sort of talk about different messages for different stakeholders. And I think, you know, that test and learn and kind of really pushing and accelerating the brand that Grupo Bimbo had acquired was really, really important. So setting a vision, delivering on that vision is just as important. And then I think, you know, just leading that message from the front and inspiring as you go is, even when sometimes you don't feel like it, is also a really, really, really great point.
This has been incredibly valuable. Thank you. Megan Harrison.